And now, everyone, it's time for last year's presentation. In disguise. Because we now have a much nicer template. That's the only thing that's been improved. The rest of it has probably gotten worse. We hope you will enjoy it anyways. And we, in this case, is me, Ethan Staghorn, and Silverfoxwolf. Yes, that's you. So I usually fursuit as Jake the Jackal, you can see here, and on my badge. I got my first and only fursuit in 2009, and I've been going to conventions and fursuiting at each and every one of them since then. And also I've been fursuiting in public. You got your first fursuit in 2010, I think. It was Colin the Collie. And then, since then, you've been out and about, fursuiting at conventions. Outside, you've been organizing fursuit walks for ScotiaCon, which you're now even the chair of, I think. Anyways, yeah. That's why I'm not the chairman of anything. And you also have a number of other suits, like this is Sergeant Growler, right? Yes. Very beautiful. And you also have your Silverfoxwolf, so you also have a silver suit. Tell me, how many fursuits do you have now again? Oh wow. Okay, so he's really into this, if you couldn't tell. Okay, so that's 8 or something. Wow. So, you may ask yourself, or it might be a good idea to define what we mean by a fursuit. It's basically, a cartoon animal costume like this cartoon dog here, with the additional proviso that there has to be a furry fan inside. If you run into a mascot or somewhere, it might not be a furry in there. You might not want to start talking about fur affinity and all these other things. They may not understand. They may think you're weird even. So there's that little limitation. However, the points that we are going to be discussing and demonstrating during this panel apply to other kinds of costuming and performance as well, including regular mascoting. Or most of them, at the very least. Okay, so in the audience here, how many of you consider yourselves fursuiters? Yes. Okay, is there anyone here, on the other hand, who has never been in a fursuit before? So that's quite a few of you. No, I don't believe you. Maybe I should. So anyways, I guess you're here because you're thinking of getting a suit. Is there anyone here who has acted as a handler when other people have been fursuiting? So that's quite a few of you as well. Okay, so you might know some of the stuff. Maybe, hopefully, there's something new here. It's supposed to be mostly of an introduction, so we'll see. Okay, let me ask you something else. Why do you fursuit? Anyone? Yes, okay.
To make kids smile and families.
That's very, very nice. Okay, that's also very nice. That's the best, I think, for my panel, Any other ones? Any other reasons to fursuit? Yes?
Feeling a bit more courageous.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, which I will hope to talk about later. So, there are many reasons. I mean, it's an attention-getting device, Hey, look at me, I'm suddenly canine. No, okay, we need to read the other reasons. So some use it as self-expression, you become the character that you think represent yourself better. Some do it to be someone else, someone who might not be as shy as you may be normally, and act as a character. And for some people it's just, you made a beautiful costume and you want to show it off to the world. And then the final point, which is probably my favorite, is exactly what you brought up, is to make other people smile. Yes. Look at how happy he is. So it's even in the Havamal, the old Norse work is that man is man's delight. So on this wretched earth, we won't have any fun if we don't make it ourselves, among ourselves. So this is basically a list of the topics that will be covered today. We will be starting out with some tips for you that are especially useful if you're just starting out as a fursuiter, on how to perform, on various limitations when you're a fursuit that you need to be aware of, And then later on, I'll try to go over and cover a variety of points that relate to when you want to take your fursuiting beyond the convention environment. You know, fursuit in public, yes, and maybe also as a function as a handler. So we will be returning to this list throughout the presentation just to keep tabs on our progress. Okay, well, we're starting out with some tips and tricks on how to begin fursuit performance. Okay, I titled this slide "The Art of Fursuiting" because I really think that fursuiting is an art, and it has a lot in common with many other types of arts, especially the performing arts, you know, stuff like mime, how you express yourself with your body. Yes. Improvisational comedy. You know, physical comedy, you have to really act things out. And you can, of course, combine your fursuiting with other performing arts, I don't know, like juggling, or koi, or dancing, or spitting fire. No, don't spit fire in your fursuit.
Do not play with fire at all.
No, 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 do not do that. So anyways, so really, it is a type of performing art, and that means we can learn from other types of performing art. I did amateur theater when I was younger, and what I learned there has, I think, helped me improve my fursuiting performance. And this is basically, this is supposed, well, how should I say this? That is the basic premise of this panel, is that all of us can improve. You wouldn't be here if you thought you would get nothing from going to this panel. So I think you agree with me on this point. And how do we improve? Well, there are a number of components. There's, you know, studying a subject and observing what other people do, like figuring out. And one thing you can do is think about which other fursuiters out there do you know of that you sort of like, and then you can think about why do you like these, because maybe that's something you can learn and incorporate into your own performances or what you do.
Like maybe in the
Yeah, exactly. Or and then there's also the second part. If you ever want to be good at something, you need to practice. That is basically the experience part. You know, trying different things, learning what works, and that never happens. The learning doesn't truly happen until you challenge yourself. If you do the same thing that you've always been doing, you're not getting any new information. You're not learning anything. But if you challenge yourself to do things that you haven't done before, that is when you get the most new information. Yes, that is how you really fly. And one trick that has worked quite well for me, actually, is what I have done here. Fake it till you make it. Maybe you think that you're not such a great performer or so on, and you think, if I were really a brave person, or a great fursuiter, I would do this and that thing. Well, you can pretend for a while that you are this great fursuiter who's not shy, and you can do that thing anyhow. And the thing is, people will see what you do, not necessarily notice that you don't think you're that person, and you actually become that person in other people's eyes, possibly also in your own. This has been extremely important for me, and developing myself in many, many respects, not only fursuiting. So I think that's a great trick. So basically, you should treat this convention now as a learning opportunity. You can, you know, study and observation. That's the kind of stuff we'll be doing in this panel. You can also observe other fursuiters around the con, and you know, borrow or steal their expressions. And then, if you have a fursuit yourself, you can of course practice fursuiting during the convention. You can treat it as a learning opportunity in addition to having fun. The fun part, or the interesting part, is that to improve your fursuiting, you don't even need to have a fursuit. One thing I did before I got my fursuit was I watched a lot of YouTube videos of other people fursuiting, and I tried to learn from that. And I even actually watched videos of jackals, you know, real jackals, trying to figure out if I could learn any way to improve my jackal performance from that. I think the only thing I learned was that I cannot make jackal sounds. It's just not physically possible.
Can you try?
I'm not going to do. I did try, and it was too embarrassing to mention. Now I will actually see. Can I get? Let's see. Can I?
No.
So I will now connect to the internet. Amazing, isn't
One more
it?
time. Press it one more time. It's slow learning.
No, it's not that. It's not actually embedded. But I'm having a problem with the Wi-Fi, join another network. So because the laptop blacked out at one point, I'll need to rejoin the network. Entertain the audience, please.
Dance for us. Are you doing the tango? No.
This should be fairly pain-free.
It's trying to lean the same way.
Okay, now we're online. Let's stop the video. Scroll back. So I want you just to look at this video and figure out what are they doing. What can you see that they do in this video? Yes, it is. There we go.
Flying.
Okay, so there we go. Let's return to presentation. It is. I chose a very short video. Okay. Oh, okay. Escape. Minimize yourself. Go away. Thank you. So the point is, you mentioned a few things. What did you see?
Flying.
Fine. Okay. Did you see anything else? Yes.
No snooping.
Exactly. Did you see anything else?
Big China says there's no swooping.
Yeah. Very good. Do you see anything else? Yes?
Probably.
Yeah. Very good again. So some of these things I have in my list here. Should be on the next slide. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I need to do this one. There we go. And some of them actually I didn't even put in there, but that's very good of you to spot. So you can see they do a lot of things, you know, airplaning, nose peeping, they're cocking their head like a dog would, they're using their doggy paws also if you notice closely. And if you read the video description, it says it's just goofing off, you know. But even these people, when they're not thinking that they're actors or whatever, or performing or things like that, they're actually using stuff they've learned. They didn't invent these things. They looked at other fursuiters, they looked at dogs and whatever, and just absorbed these things. And you can do that too by just looking at YouTube videos of people performing in fursuit.
Sometimes you learn without even thinking.
Exactly. Okay. For those of you who have worn a fursuit, what was the first thing you did it? Okay. Okay.
Ears, eyes, mouth.
That's very close to what I was going to say. Yes. Okay.
Sneaking up on people and scaring them.
Okay. Well, that's very good. I think a few of you might not might be afraid to say how vain you are, because you looked in the mirror, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, because I didn't have a mirror.
Okay. Why do you transfer? No. Okay, I see. So, anyways, that's the first thing I did, and actually, it's not only because you're vain. It's actually excellent practice to use a mirror and figure out. I mean, you're a completely different creature. That's what the first thing you see in the mirror, and you see a glimpse of this new you. And then you can use the mirror to practice various things, including the very important figuring out where the body parts are on the new you. So, Silver, where are your eyes? Where is your nose? Touch your nose. Where are your ears? Touch them. Okay. Your mouth. Put a finger in your mouth. Good. Ears. No wait. And shoulders, knees, and toes. Okay. So he's been in his fursuit for quite some time, and he knows where all these things are. I saw a demonstration of a person in their fursuit for their first time. They looked a lot like when the police tried to assess if you're drunk or not. Anyways, there's one thing that I did at my first Anthrocon that is a classic mistake that you can do if you don't know where your ears and nose and mouth are. My first fursuit hug went something like this, And then the other guy said, so our muscles collided, and the other guy said, so you're also new at this. And that was my first hug buddy person. Yes, the way to do it obviously is to put your heads to one side to let the muscles pass each other. Okay, and once you're in front of the mirror, I mean, you can explore this new self by moving around and seeing how that translates to the new body you have. Now, one thing you will discover then is that it looks quite different from what you might expect. You have now become a larger-than-life character. And that means your movements have to be larger and exaggerated to compensate. This is one of the most important lessons, one of the more important lessons in acting school, is that when you're on a stage and people are far away, or things like that, or you have to act out and exaggerate would be normal expression. And here you're basically covering yourself in a blanket of fur, and you have to act out through that to reach the audience. Also, many fursuiters like Growler here do not speak, as far as I understand, and you cannot see some of the expressions like, you know, blinking and facial expressions are basically almost impossible to see through there, or should be impossible, meaning you have to replace them with other expressions like body language, mime, and so on. And then the thing is, which you might notice he's doing, he's standing still, but he isn't still. He's moving around. And this is to breathe life into your character. Because all these twitching and other things that happen normally in people to make them look alive, they don't reach out to the blanket of fur. So you're just a dead piece of costume. Yeah, like that. That's no fun. You have to breathe some life into yourself by never standing still. Exactly. I mean, what you can do is to work out a few motions that you can do while you're standing in order not to look dead. Like wagging your tail, for instance, works with quite a few costumes, and so on. But never let your character die. Okay, and then there's this aspect that if you look in the mirror, you don't see yourself anymore. You see someone else. I would argue that you are not yourself anymore. You are now this character. The question is, if you're starting out, you need to find that character. You need to figure out who you actually are. Who have you become? I mean, the visuals can give you one impression. You can move around, see how different motions translate and so on. And you can think about how can you make this interesting and what do you want to express now that you're in fursuit. One way to do that is to think about if you write a short description for a character, what would that look like, for instance? What words would go in there? Would it be a happy character or a sad character? Would it be an extroverted character or a shy character? Would it be a grumpy character maybe? I don't know. How much of an animal would your character be? And so on. So when I was working on this panel together with Silver, he sent me this really nice text, which I think just one or two sentences about his first suit, which expresses the character of that suit in just a few words, you know. So he started suiting in 2010, yes, with a partial named Colin the Collie, that has a desire to steal all things shiny, and by collie logic, you own everything unless broken, in which case it's yours until you fix it. And I think, you can think about your own character. How will you describe yourself? And then, now, we're reaching the single most important lesson that you're going to get in acting school if you go to it. And that is that acting is not about acting. It's about being. Don't act. Be. If you look in the mirror, you're not yourself anymore. You're someone else. You have to be that character. It's not good enough to just go through the motions. In order to make it convincing, you have to think like your character. You need to feel like your character. When I'm acting happy, I am happy. I'm really smiling on the inside. I know people won't see the smile, but they will see what it does for my body language. And that is the important part here. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So some people call this headspace. Put yourself in the mindset of your character.
Can I ask a question, or we save it to the end?
You can ask questions now. Yes.
Good one. Because this is the thing that complicates things for me. I don't have a character. My fursuit is me, essentially.
Okay.
I have a problem with separation. So, I mean, it's all as well saying if you're happy, you know, be extra happy, or if you're sad, well, then you be happy. But I'm not a natural actor. So how would, I mean, how can I, it's easy enough to say, think this and be this, but where do you actually start making that jump?
Yes, so Silver had a good word, good suggestion here. Just do your own thing, and then you will find your own performance. I would say the one other trick you can try is to take someone else's version and put it on and try to be someone else, see if that works better for you. Those are some ideas. But basically, if you're worried about this, then try not worrying about it and see what happens.
That's really hard to do.
The thing is, when you have this, when you have a fursuit, it makes you less accountable for your actions. It's a ticket to do certain things that you can't otherwise do. And people don't, I mean, you can use that freedom to try out things. I would love to talk to you later also about this, because I think it's a really interesting question. Yes?
I call it escapism, simply, yeah, not being you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, I like being me. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
No, then just be you squared.
Oh.
Well, we can talk about that. So there are, in acting, there are, for instance, tricks to put you into your headspace. And getting to the headspace of an animal might be more difficult, but you should really try to stay in character when you're performing. You know, don't stand still, let your performance die for a while. That makes it much less convincing. There will be a lot more about performance later tonight. Zuki, or the Great Pazuzu, as he likes to perform as, will give you an introduction on, you know, character design and expression. If you think this is an interesting topic, I can recommend going to that. I'm sure he will have more things to teach than I have. Okay. Here I actually wanted to mention a beautiful concept from, yes, no, I should start in this end. The thing is, I hate to break it to you, but when you put on a fursuit, that does not make you physically an animal. It might make you look like one, but and it doesn't go all the way. The thing is, that's all right. That's all right because there is this beautiful literary concept called suspension of disbelief. If you just make your character or your performance convincing, then you don't have to be an animal to be an animal in other people's eyes. It's the same as when you read a good book or when you're watching a good movie. You get absorbed in this. You really feel what's happening, even though you objectively know it's just a book or a movie. It still touches you. And you will do exactly the same here. If you just work on your part to make it convincing, other people can buy into the illusion you're selling. Okay, there are certain things you can do which make the illusion not work, which make it hard to suspend your disbelief. We talked about just standing still like a $1,000 Christmas tree. There are other things like talking in your costume is often difficult to do. In the public, it's very seldom people do that. Mascoters have this first rule of mascoting, which is basically, maybe the second rule is never to talk while you're performing as a mascot. Now, at a furry convention, you will find quite a few people talking in their fursuit, and that might be more okay. There is this middle ground that has emerged, which is to use squeakers instead of actual speech. It's kind of cute, but it is definitely overdone by now. If you cannot expand on it and make it new and interesting, I would not suggest going that route. So the thing is, different ways of acting and incorporating speech or not into your performance works with different persons and with different characters, and you need to figure out what works for you. So if you have a static jaw, like Sergeant Growler here, then if you're talking, your mouth isn't moving, and that just looks weird. That might be one reason not to talk. Then you have to think about, can you do a voice that fits your character? You will not have a problem there because your character is you. but other people will. It's actually very hard to make a voice that will fit a costume like this. Yes. And finally, you need to think about what setting are you in. If you're in the public, it's usually a good idea not to talk even if you can. And we'll get to that later. So all of these things affect how you express yourself. Now, talking might bend suspension of disbelief and make it harder, but you actually ruin it completely if you take off your head. Yes. That is why that is considered bad form to do so when you're in public. We have, headless lounges precisely for the reason that you can take your head off in there and it is socially acceptable. Of course, if it's an emergency, you can do that, but especially when you go out in public, please don't kill your fursuit in front of the kids. It's really not popular. I mean, especially among mascots. In Disneyland, you're not allowed to take off your head in public for any reason. There are certain emergency signals that will make them take you away to a place where you can take off your head in private as soon as possible. But that's just a total no-no. I mean, it breaks the illusion, and if somebody's taking photos or things like that, even if there are 10 or 20 other fursuiters with their heads on, that one guy is going to spoil the entire picture. So do stay in character when you're in character. Now the thing you can do, even when you're, say, at home or just starting out, is to start practicing how would you express yourself. If your character is feeling something, or if you are feeling something, how would that translate to body expressions? Like, if you're happy, what do you do? Yes. It's also a lot happier than before, right? Okay, if you're sad, oh, sad Growler. What if I surprise you? Okay, yes. No, don't fight me. So, notice the hands in the air. And if you're just scared or afraid of something, how would you act? No. Okay, so that works with his character. Yeah, exactly, that's better. That's what I was looking for. So you notice, I say down here that you should build a bag of tricks, things that you know that you can do. Eventually, you just know them, you will be doing them subconsciously, but you might have to think about them the first time. And some of these tricks may be general. Some of them might only work with certain characters. Like one guy said he could wag his tail on one of his fursuits really nicely, but only with that particular suit. So that's one thing he did with that suit. Or you notice here, his reaction to being scared was different from what he would do in another fursuit.
It's because he's a believer.
Yes, precisely. Then it's really important actually that in order to improve yourself, you cannot improve your act efficiently without knowing how it's perceived by others. I mean, there's one thing you feel that maybe this was a good thing to do, maybe this was a bad thing to do, but that can be deceptive. Sometimes you can feel shy, you're going to feel, oh, I overdid it, but you're really not overdoing it. So you need to use other channels of feedback. Like I said, it's like acting. Well, it's like acting without a director out there to tell you what you're doing right or wrong. So you have to be your own director or find other ways of getting feedback on your performance. Now, it might be other people, fans, coming up to you and said, oh, you made that kid so happy, or things like that, or God forbid, somebody saying, don't do that again. And you can also maybe, ask people, did that work, did it not? And then you might be able to find, photos of yourself, or video yourself somewhere. Somebody might take it. Video is definitely best because you're moving around. Yeah, exactly. I have a style of that, so that's very good of you. So I, for instance, realized that I was doing a number of mistakes all the friggin' time that I found when I was posing through pictures that I saw. So this is me, I think my second Nordicfuzzcon or something. I found in many pictures I was doing the same mistake. What was that mistake? Exactly. I realized at my first con that I need to tilt my head backwards so that people can see the mouth. And I realized at my second con that I was also tilting my hand back, which looked really weird. So nowadays I have to think about doing that when I'm posing for a photo. The second part here is my character is a jackal. Jackals have long ears. And then I wanted to do sort of they're related to canines, right? So you do your doggy paws, and I realized I was doing something wrong. I was doing this. Long ears, paws together, what does it look like to you? Exactly, it looks like something with a very large overbite. And this is the reason that people have been, I've been told that people call me a bunny and many other things. Pig is the worst I've heard, I think. And I try to, so now I try to keep my it looks a little bit better. Tiger Tom and Easy Wolf did a great tutorial, and this is on Tiger Tom's Fursuiting camera. So if I give him his featured picture on how to pose in fursuit. So you can see he's doing certain things here that are, yeah, exactly. That is the least good way to pose in a fursuit. So do mix it up a little bit by actually acting something or you're doing something while you're fursuit. And then he has a sword in the second row. Does he have a sword in the first picture? Exactly, he does, but you cannot see it. Okay, so he has a sword in the picture also immediately below it. The thing is, he doesn't. He has an axe. But because of how he's holding the axe, like he's going to cleave you, you don't see it, and that's a bad way of doing it. So I will, you can find this one yourself, I hope, on Fursuiting. I will not dwell on it too long. And instead we go on to the next topic here, which is that fursuiting isn't only fun and games, but there are some limitations and other things that come with fursuiting that you might want, that it's very important actually that you are aware of this. So I put a number of them on here, and we will discuss all of them, starting with what you perceive and see when in fursuit. So, Silver, will you step up here, and we're going to show you a demonstration of what we can see. So we'll be standing like this, facing the audience, straight out, and moving our hands into our fields of vision until we can see them. And this is where I can see both my hands. I can't, okay, now I look you over, yes. This is actually a very good fursuit view compared to most other fursuits. And if it's just your first panel, I had to stand like this behind the fursuit before they started seeing it. So, maybe that's why you put on this fursuit for the panel. No, this was this year as well. I thought it was that, but this year it was exactly the same. It was hilarious. I just moved my arms in until they were like this. Yes. So the thing is, fursuiters have a number of limitations. Our vision is our most important sense, and it's very much affected by your fursuit. You have tunnel vision, you can't see towards the sides. Your downward vision is also affected. You can't see, well, that's why many fursuiters walk like this. It doesn't look good, but at least you're not tripping over anything. Should I stand here? Yeah, okay. I'm standing here now. Yeah, so you're saying you can see me now? Okay. Yeah, exactly. So the trick here is to sort of work around these problems. You need either you're looking down or you have already looked ahead and know what's coming. If you know where the step is, you can step over it. Yes. And it's not. He could do that not because he saw where he was, but because he had seen it before and knew where he was. And since you have this tunnel vision, you need to constantly be scanning your environment to figure out what's going on. You can work that into your character. Maybe your character walks around, you know, like this. And that, so you can make it a natural part of your performance, even though you're actually going, oh, what's going on? Yes, there are actually some fursuiters, like horses, for instance. Horses have vision this way. If you make a realistic horse mask, you will not be seeing anything in front of you. And I've seen a fursuiter like that. Yeah, okay, yes.
Slide your head out some.
Yeah, that person had to be led around everywhere. Yes?
There have been an update on the horse mask that because they are putting the head on top here, so they're saying through the throat.
That's one way of solving it.
Sides instead.
Yes, that's very clever. If you have one of the unfortunate suits that don't do that, then you have to be very careful. Vision is also degraded for other reasons. You don't have as good vision. You're seeing through this mesh, right? Maybe you can't wear your glasses. You probably want contacts in your fursuit if you need. Or maybe you just don't use them and don't see as well. I mean, it's not like you're seeing anyhow. Yeah. And it also, I mean, your hearing, other things can be affected, and of course your sense of touch is not the same on your ears as your normal person, for instance. Then there's the issue of temperature. I mean, the fur is the animal's clothes, and you're putting on a lot of clothes, basically like wearing mittens all over your body when you put on a fursuit. Or like somebody said, it's like wearing a couch, was the first thing they said when they put on a fursuit. It gets particularly hot inside the head. Is it inside the head? Okay, inside the fursuit here, we have actually put a thermometer, and around us here, I think, it's 22 degrees, 23. Inside the fursuit, it is 34 degrees. That's a substantial difference. This can... Yeah, exactly. On top of that. So I think 45 degrees have been measured inside certain fursuit heads. That is very, very hot. 5-0 in one of your fursuit heads. So this means that if you overheat, or you can get you can get heat stroke, which is a serious and dangerous condition. So don't know your limits here and don't go beyond them. There are certain things you can do to cool down, like standing in front of a fan, you know, our lounges. There are things you can wear to cool you down. There are air-cooled systems. Easy Wolf is selling a vest. Yes, many people have fans in their heads, for instance. Some people really like this cooling gear. It's especially good, I think, if you have a full suit. Some people, for some reason or other, don't really like them. It's one of these try before you buy things often. I think they're just too bulky or whatever, get in the way, or just too complicated to prepare. But what many people use is the kind of Under Armour, other exercise gear, compression gear that compresses your body and makes it easier for sweat to evaporate and therefore cool you down. And that is usually quite cheap to buy and a good idea. Don't buy cotton underwear. That's for keeping you warm. That is a bad idea. So be careful with what you buy. But in principle, yes, okay. Isomax and Coolmax. Okay, Isomax and Coolmax are two good brands, I'm told here. Yes?
Under Armour.
Yes, but they have two different lines. They have one that is for if you're in cold climes and one that is for hot climes. And I think it's called heat gear, the one that's supposed to...
Cold gear.
It's
yeah,
a heat
exactly.
gear.
So you need to figure out which one's which, and it's very counterintuitive.
It's heat gear, and it's around 80 for a complete set.
Okay.
So it's kind of expensive.
Well, anyways, it's not expensive compared to the fursuit, and
Yeah.
compared to you.
But it's much better than a custom suit bought in eBay.
So anyways, also for me, I have a partial, so I can, the biggest problem for me is the mask. I can hardly breathe in, and that starts immediately, which is really annoying. Now, of course, with heat comes sweating. And with sweating, you're losing fluids. That means you can and will dehydrate if you don't drink. Now, by drinking, I don't mean alcohol. Alcohol actually dehydrates you further. So if you're drinking in fursuit, be very careful, okay? Drinking water is good. Drinking before the fursuit is good. During fursuiting is also good. Drinking afterwards is also a good idea. But please, don't just think that you can sweat out 10 liters now and re-drink them later. Your body doesn't work that way. Think about a raisin. If you put a raisin in water, does it turn back into a beautiful, pristine grape again? No, neither will you. Yes. Yes?
Water, it takes 40 minutes for the body to absorb the water. So even if you drink 2 liters of water, it's going to take at least 40 minutes before the body can actually use it.
Okay, yes. So this is one reason to always keep hydrating. Thank you. You've done your homework, I can tell. So anyways, yes, and by all that is holy, when you're done fursuiting and have been sweating a lot, do have a shower and change into some non-sweaty clothes. Yes, and your fursuit as well, if it's moist, that can be a great environment for things to grow that you don't want in your fursuit. So please, dry it out and maintain it to keep it looking nice and fresh. In many pet stores, you can buy a sticker brush that is for animal fur, and it looks so much better. Let's see, this is the direction of the grain, right? Yeah, you can tell how much nicer it is and how much he likes it. Do look out for, there are different kinds of sticker brushes. Some of them are, this one is a very gentle one, it's only made out of rubber. Some of them have, just metal strands on them. And we, yeah. Well, you notice, this fur is just coming out of it and not going to come back. Sorry, sir. Okay, yes. Now, in a conventional environment, this is why we have the fursuit down. Lounges, for you to rehydrate, for you to be able to cool down, so that you don't have to risk your health unnecessarily. Of course, also to get energy and so on. This is more difficult if you go somewhere else. Yeah, in our fursuit lounge here, we also have repair equipment. If your fursuit breaks, maybe you can fix it in there. And also some snacks to get energy. Okay, the final part is that not only will you have trouble if you're just standing around and heating up or whatever, you are going to have problems in fursuit if you're trying to move around. Because you have these giant feet, balls in the air, and these oversized hands, which are very hard to do anything with. And some fursuits, notice that. In some fursuits, it's actually even hard or impossible to get in or out of the fursuit yourself. Don't get stranded somewhere without a handler and unable to get out of your fursuit, please. A particularly dangerous thing when you're not seeing anything and you have enormous feet is going down or upstairs. And there is a special trick you can use, which is to walk sideways, because that's the narrowest way on your feet, just like Silver demonstrated, And of course, having a helper with you is better, or avoiding stairs is better yet. So the elevator might be a good choice for that reason. There is this concept of tumbles the stair dragon. Don't let that be you. Yes, here we get to some of the things that we mentioned before. It's so a fursuit is somebody called them walking works of art, and that's really true. It's a 1,000-pound interactive artwork, and unfortunately, unlike the animal's fur, artificial fur will not grow back out. So when you're engaging in activities, think about if your fursuit can handle this or not, or if you have to switch to a new one afterwards, if you're doing really extreme things. And of course, whenever you've been fursuiting, do maintain your fursuit to make it look fresh. Give it a nice brush, and don't store it in a, where you can acquire mold or whatever. There are a number of other tricks and tips and tricks to this. I will not go into this. You can find so much information on this and read about it on the internet without us showing you. There is also panel fursuit construction, which I think might have some maintenance content. That's tomorrow, I think. And then the final part is, if you're dressed up like this, you might look like you're padded and safe, and you can start, you can hit somebody in the stomach without hurting them too much or hurting yourself too much. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, fursuiting makes things generally more dangerous, not less dangerous. This is something the general public does not understand, and that is one reason we need fursuiters handlers to keep suitors safe when out and about. So like I said, we've gone through a number of limitations with fursuiting. Now when you're in this convention environment here, most people know that they shouldn't punch you because that will hurt, and or not to pull your tail or whatever. And we have this infrastructure, you know, everything is designed with fursuiters in mind. That is not the case if you go anywhere else. Then you're on your own, except for if you have a handler with you. And this, of course, leads us over into the second part of the presentation, which is once you had fun at this convention, maybe the convention ends, maybe you don't want to wait for next year's Nordicfuzzcon before you go out and you fursuit again. And the one place where people typically, the one place you can go mean by public fursuiting. Can you think of some examples of where you can do public fursuiting? Okay. What does it say? Anybody else? Yes, yes, absolutely. That is very good. Yes, they do that at some conventions, right? And those first walks or anything else? Yeah, like the square or anywhere else in town. So I wrote down a number of things here, but I think the common denominator is that public fursuiting is anywhere where you meet somebody who's not a furry, where the non-furs essentially, where you come to the non-furs rather than maybe a non-fur too coming to see this. You can actually even be, you know, private parties. Maybe somebody's having a Halloween party, you put on your costume or whatever, or you're out bowling with some other furries, and in the lane beside you are some non-furs. It could be, you know, public events, like they have something called the Procession of the Species in the Northwest, where you're supposed to dress up like an animal. So this is, of course, public to go to. No. What we might be more difficult to do, what can be very interesting, is to do, say, charity gigs or even get into pro mascoting. Then you're actually supposed to, you know, to do it for a reason with other people. Have you done that? Charity? Yes. Okay. Good dog. Anyways, and of course, like we said, anywhere around town you can put on your fursuit if you do it right. You know, there's this concept of guerrilla fursuiting, which is just when you put on your fursuit and just go out. I advise against it. It's usually much nicer to let people know that you're coming if you're going somewhere than just showing up. That can cause trouble, and if you're unwanted, that will not make very popular. And there's so many other things that I can't even think of. In general, I myself, I don't have that much experience of charity and certain other types of fursuit performance. It's difficult to call somebody on the phone and describe fursuiting without sounding really weird. So we have had some trouble with that, but it's usually once you get in and you have a portfolio of stuff you've done, that can get much easier. What I've done a bit of definitely is public outings, so that is where I have my expertise. Okay, second question. Now that you have this safe convention, why would you fursuit in public at all? Yes? That is very good. I hope that will. Yes? Yes? Yes?
Adventure.
Yes? Okay. So, for me at least, it's about not only having fun myself, but making other people smile. That's the most fun. If you just fursuit for yourself, that gets old eventually. But the joy of making people happy is always new. So this is fun if you're a suitor, if you're a handler, or if you're part of the general public. Somebody called it said that seeing a fursuiter is like being cut off in traffic, but the other way around. So being cut off in traffic is a very small thing that can affect your mood in a big way. You can get really angry, even though this is just a very small thing. Being a fursuiter is the opposite of that. Just, you know, seeing somebody in a fun costume can make you feel that much better, even though maybe it really shouldn't. And that smile is what I'm looking for. So, there are two things, I'm sort of loosely been structuring the various things I've learned into two parts. What you need to think about, yes, and what you need to think about before you go on an outing, and what you think about during the outing, and do while you're on the outing. And For preparation, it is really important that you do prepare. You might just, spontaneously go out there and have a good time. But you never know. The more you prepare, the more you create the conditions for you to have a good experience, the more likely it is that you will have a good experience. There's this famous quote by the Swedish alpine skier Ingmar Stenmark, who had won, I think, 5 downhill skiing competitions in a row. And the reporter said to him, "You must be extremely lucky." And he said, "Yes, and the more I practice, the luckier I get." And I think that's definitely true. So to have to maximize the fun you get out of a public outing, there are certain things you need to do beforehand. Most important, perhaps, is to know your environment. It's a lot safer if you scout ahead of time, or if you go somewhere that you already know, that's fine. But especially scouting ahead of time, figuring out where are the different people, where are the crowds going to be, where are my exits if I need to get away from someone, or go out or end the tour or whatever. Where can I do that? Are there any particular hazards around here that I should know of? I have some examples on the next slide. The sun is your enemy when you're out in the summer days. So you need to know where it's safe to find shade, and serve water maybe. And when you're changing in and out of suit, that's not something you should do in public. It's really bad for kids to see. So you need to figure out where you should have your change space. And then when you figure these things out, you make a route. I think we're going to go this way, then we avoid the various hazards, and so on, and can have a good time. Things to avoid include, there are static terrain hazards. I put, for example, the cliffs, keys, drop-offs, curbs, poles, bollards, tree stumps, puddles, dog poop, bear traps. All of these things, I mean, what you cannot see can hurt you. And especially big, of course, a problem, I've already mentioned that, is stairs. If you can route around the stairs, by all means do, otherwise you need to have handlers helping the person there. If you have a group of suitors, chances are at least one of them will have huge paws, and then you're going to have trouble if you don't handle that. Yes, then there are things that are moving around, maybe like traffic. If you need to cross a road, you need to have handlers for that to stop the fursuiters, maybe then stop the traffic, lead people across, and so on. It definitely can be very dangerous if you're not seeing what you're doing. Yes. Then there are certain places that are not good to go in fursuit in general, or at the very least, if they're not prepared and have said a very clear yes. And that includes especially banks, but also malls and other stores. Many of these have a no masks policy. To them, your fursuit is just a cute balaclava, and you there be robbed them or something. Yes.
Children's schools, the trans toys are often very welcoming to fursuiters.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. So basically, the thing is, you need to make sure you're welcome before you go in. If you're not welcome in, it's really bad form to storm in there and then get kicked out by security or something. I have been in kids' stores where they actually love you. There are also other problems. I mean, if you go into, say, a store or something, it might be really cramped in there, lots of breakable things, you're moving your tail around, and stuff may break, and you might be liable. So that is a very real concern when you're out fursuiting out in the back. And of course, the final point down here, heat. It's not as easy as at the convention to get water and so on. But you still need to rehydrate constantly and make sure you don't get into any health trouble. And if you have handlers, if you can tell that a suitor is overheating or indicates that they're overheating or they haven't been drinking as they should, then please take it seriously. Yes. One other thing that you might want to think about is what are your goals with going out. Sometimes it's just a spontaneous thing, you want to have fun. But sometimes, say, if you're doing this for a charity or for someone else, your goals are probably going to be slightly different. Your goal is probably going to be whatever the charity wants or whatever the person that invited you wants to happen. Maybe, putting money or whatever, and so on. Yes. Now, if you want to be somewhere, like in a mall, where they might have a policy that you're not allowed, don't just go there and get yourself kicked out. Contact them beforehand and get their permission in writing very clearly and print it out and take it with you or something. That is, otherwise you will not be welcome or may not be welcome. And second, if somebody invites you, make sure that they understand what you can do and what you need. They might not know that you can't be in full suit for 4 hours straight. Or they might you might not think about the fact that you need somewhere to change into your costume and to store your stuff. Or they might, and no, public restrooms are not acceptable. So that's the kind of thing you might want to think about when you're planning your outing. Yes, and of course, what do you do if you're going outside and it rains? If you plan something in advance, this is something you need to consider beforehand. If you need to cancel, you need to know who to call or who to call. And also, if you set up your change space, say don't put a tent or something in a tunnel somewhere where the water will flood or will pool and accumulate. Somebody did that and had a really, really bad experience. You didn't want to know, okay, you just, okay, you're right. Yes. And finally, speaking of contingencies, just like at furry convention, don't assume that everything will be. So allocate a little bit of room in your section. Now, stuff you bring with you, your equipment. Most important, if it's going to be a fursuit outing, you need to bring your fursuit. You should actually think about which fursuit you bring. This is a very nice costume because it's not that scary. The dragon here, I think, is probably okay. There is this concept of a RAR suit, which is a costume that's designed to look scary. This is the kind of thing you need to be careful about bringing around kids and decide whether or not you even want to do that. Somebody had a realistic dolphin costume that he really liked and that he used around, it had all the teeth that a dolphin has. He stopped using that one in public after people started calling him the creepy dolphin guy. Certain groups that say do charity, fursuiting or stuff together, they require you to have a full suit. That is more convincing for the kids. But that's definitely not always required. And finally, take a fursuit with you that is clean and nice looking, and not like they said in CSI, well marinated. Okay, that's one other reason you want to keep your fursuit. Okay, then of course, the other piece of equipment here that you might have to carry with you or make sure that you have the infrastructure for is water. Water carrying, water distribution, like straws, things like that. Don't leave home without it. Then I put clothing on here. It's actually relevant in many different ways. If you're a fursuiter, even if you're a full suiter, you might want to wear something on top, say a jersey or you have a vest or something. Why is that good? Well, say that I'm a kid and I'm walking over hugging him with my face paint. This will save your suit because it's a lot easier to wash the vest or a sports jersey than it is to wash the entire bodysuit. And of course, yeah, and you can just toss it away if it's really bad. Yeah, okay, well. Also, make sure you wear different clothing from your character. Otherwise, the kids will be really disappointed when the person comes out looking dressed exactly like that funny cartoon character was just there. Second, one thing, a great psychological trick you can do if you're a big group out fursuiting, maybe you're, I don't know if you're a Svenska Tassar or whatever, maybe you can print, matching T-shirts or have matching bandanas or badges or something, and you look a lot more official and less suspect. It's a really neat trick that people are using, so you look like a big group that you're all together and fitting. And this is something that, of course, is relevant also to the non-suit. Now, one other thing that is, you might consider equipment at the very least, or even clothing, are these. your fursuit badges. They will make your life, Silver has his, or Growler has his in there. They will make your life a little bit easier because people know how to address you if you're wearing them. Yeah, sometimes you might want to wear, fursuit sandals or something, like you discovered with all the pebbles that are now stuck in his paws. With sandals, that could have been avoided. Okay, maybe you want to bring some stuff with you out there for having fun as well. You know, fursuit props or things. No, that's a bad prop in public, I think, unless you can really pull it off and you're not around any kids. No drunken cops here. What you can bring are, let's see, yes, balls, frisbees, squeaky toys, things like that we often bring with us. I once had the brilliant idea to, be like a dog and chase after a stick. It's a really bad idea to have kids throw sticks around. They're hard. So really soft balls often work the best. The kind of things that nobody gets injured if they fly the wrong way. What more do we have? Maintenance and repair items. Maybe that, but most importantly, that. Safety pins are a real savior in this case. Maybe your zipper breaks or something. You can safety pin that thing together and maybe you can still go on that outing. I had that happen actually, but we were saved by somebody being clever enough to bring safety pins with them. Large safety pins that can handle a person. Not that large. And there's for no comic effect. You get the picture. Some groups, even if you can't find a changing space, sometimes you can create it by bringing a tent or something. Okay, but the most important thing you can bring with you is a friend. Yes, like that. It's a jungle out there, basically, especially when you're this is why we have handlers, or what people call spotters, or what we call wranglers, or what we call helpers, like that person. Essentially, as a handler, you're supporting the fursuiters. As we talked about, fursuiters have limitations. You complement these things by being everything a fursuiter cannot be. You're there to facilitate interaction with the public so that everyone can have a good time, and your team working together, solving the various problems you have. Also, if you're a large group, obviously you look more official than if you're just one single guy dressed in a weird costume. Okay, so some of the things you can and should do when you're a handler include, being a guide dog, making sure people follow the right path, and that they don't fall off somewhere or walk into trouble, and clean the path, Also, guarding fursuiters against particularly aggressive, yes, that's you. Guarding the other fursuiters against particularly aggressive members of the public and other things that can be problematic. And yeah, a beast of burden, carrying stuff around like water or somebody else's clothes that they carry elsewhere. Distributing water, making sure that everybody drinks at regular intervals so they don't fall over later. And spotting dangers, as I said, but also spotting opportunities. Like if there's a kid out there that wants to be hugged, or if you see that somebody was really happy about the interaction and the fursuiter didn't notice, you can relay that message on to them. So that's the extra eyes. Since you can't use your hands well as a fursuiter, you have to act as extra hands, take off and on fursuiters, put on paws or untangle if the kitty has gotten stuck in the yard or whatever. And of course, if photos need to be taken, they are very hard to take with fursuit paws. And then you're one extra brain out there that can solve the problems that arise. And there will be problems and ample opportunities for you to solve them. I said, yes, if there's fursuit destroying clothing, you can just break that down in a nice manner. Yes, facilitate interaction, I wrote in the previous. That actually would be important. Since you can't speak in fursuit, somebody else would have to speak for you. So that would be the handler. You have to interpret the charades or whatever the person does and relay them in a nice way to the public. And if you do this really nicely, actually, there's some handlers out there that become more than just a supporter. They can step up into the limelight and become part of the act. You know, you provide something for the person to work with, like the hat or something. Or maybe, you know, do you want the stick? Do you want the stick? Huh? 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 You know, you can interact with people a lot more than just, yeah, there you go. No, give it back to me. You naughty, naughty dog. Okay, now we're even. You know, stuff like that. You can be much more than just. You don't have to be in the back if you don't want to. It takes two to tango. Turn it into ping pong. Okay. Then, of course, if the person needs to communicate something to the handlers or other people who can help him with things that he cannot do himself or wants to relay messages, there's a secret fursuit sign language that we'll now teach you. Okay, so let's see if you've learned this language before. So how would you say yes? Can you think of another way of saying yes? Exactly. Okay, no then. Can you think of another way of saying no? Exactly. So there are many ways, you know, to communicate that. What time is it? Exactly. So then you have to tell them what time it is. It's 12:23. If you want to go somewhere, how do you sign that? Okay, you see that, you want to go there, yeah. If you want to take your head off, this one's pretty important. If you're overheating or something, yeah, exactly. Signal that you want to take your head off. Yeah, if you're overheating, there's another thing you can do. That's just a good idea, you know, fanning yourself, you're getting cool. If you need water, how do you do that? You buy and drink it. What do you do when you're in trouble and want to attract someone's attention? That is one way of doing it. At Disney World, they have a secret signal that many people don't know, but it's one hand in the air and the other on the eye, like this. And so one trick you can do then is, of course, to look up, oh, is there something in the air, in your eye? And then you lead the fursuiter off somewhere else where they can take off their head or something like that. You know, so you can break it off in a nice way. And in general, I think a hand in the air might be the only thing you can do if you have 10 kids on top of it. So that's one thing to watch out for.
No, we're not going to get married.
Yes, so now we're walking over to the part here. We're discussing preparation, things you should know when you get and have when you get out there. Now, once you get out in the field, how do you maximize your enjoyment then and have a good time? Okay, so there are a few things here that we'll be covering, like how you present furry to others, how you modify your performance when you're in public, how you interact with kids, that's a big one, and the various challenges that come along, which are quite difficult to deal with sometimes. So first off, when you're out there and calling yourself a furry in public, think about that everyone you're with is now an ambassador of furry. And what people see, they are going to think that every fur is like that. So first impressions last, you know. So please, give the other people an impression of furry that everyone can agree with. I mean, the good part is that this is a fun thing to do. If you have a cute, fuzzy, happy animal costume, you're off to a great start for presenting furry already. But there's, you know, like, don't reinforce negative stereotypes. Like, there is a persistent impression from CSI and other things that furry is some kind of sexual thing only, and don't fuel that fire. So, say, going out in bondage gears or certain other things that I've seen might not be the best way to present furry. Yes, and you will make people uncomfortable. That's not how we want. We want furries to be, you know, perceived as nice and approachable. Other things that might be fun to do in a convention environment that you shouldn't do include I mean, that's fun, but it's not family friendly. So that's out of place. Don't hump other people either, even if they're cute. Actually, there have been some trouble even at, yeah, there was a big drama in one group in Canada where some people were making out, two handlers were making out in a way in the zoo that other people thought was not nice. And now basically the whole group split up because they weren't welcome anymore anywhere. So do be careful. And don't fight or be nasty to each other either. Now, as part of this, you want to play only with the people who want to play with you. So, I mean, what would you do if you want to, interact with somebody? How do you start that? Exactly. You try a small wave or something. If they act busy or don't want to be part of it, let them be. Like particularly bad people to annoy include cops and security guards. You need to make sure they're in on it. There are some people who are afraid of clowns in person. So really, pissing people off will not make you popular. It will make you an annoyance. Okay. An asshole. Yes. Then of course there will be lots and lots of curious people who approach you, interact with you, and some of them will have a question. And invariably the first question is because they haven't seen CSI or anything else, they have no idea what this is, and they ask you, what is all this? And that's actually a great opportunity to present, they want to learn how to make sense of you, and this is a chance for you to, people are thinking you are interesting, so this is a chance for you to answer it well and give people a good impression of you. So, how would you answer that question? What is all this?
Do people know about fantasy settings?
Yeah.
So I would start to say that it's kind of like fantasy.
That's actually a very good start. So let's see. Yes, we are talking about fantasy, that's art, that's creative, and so on. I put some things I think on the next slide here. Yes. So the good part is that you did right, is to say who we are, not what we're not. If you say that we're absolutely not creepy bondage fetishists, what do people think of when you say that? What images appear in their minds? Don't say that. So and also use familiar words and concepts, like say, we're furry. That doesn't say it. Or say, it's a fandom of anthropomorphic animals. Those are two words, fandom and anthropomorphism, that most people have never come in contact with. The way to do it, you don't need to. You need to know, the best way is just to have a few key words, a few key concepts that you want to be able to rattle off. Not all of them, but a couple of them at least, on demand. Like, words like fans and cartoon animals, that's basically what you said, like a fantasy. Hobbyists, you mentioned the artists, the craftspeople, the people of performance, and you mentioned that people come from all countries, all walks of life, it's a global fandom, blah, blah, blah. It's a global phenomenon even. Okay, nearly all countries, 11 countries, 15 actually. And you talk maybe about charity work that going on and so on. And about how happy you are to make other people happy. Those are some of the main points that people usually say. Now, okay, when you're out walking, there are a few things to watch out for. Yes?
Just on the previous.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very handy to have actually understand what business card with the address to contact it in case people want to know more.
That is really
because
good.
if they go out on Google and search for furry paddle or something, there is a lot of pages that don't give the best first impression.
That's a very clever idea. Okay, I should try to write that down for next year. Now, unfortunately, I need to speed up a little bit here. Yes, so we go on to the next one. There are a few things to watch out for when you're out and about that cannot necessarily prepare for it. Pet reactions vary a lot. In general, pets can, staring or blinking eyes, exposed teeth like some persons have. There are signs of animal aggression. So some animals will get really afraid. Most dangerous are horses. They're prey animals, and they're very skittish, and they're very large. They're large enough to really hurt people. So be careful, very careful around them. Yes?
Horses are scared of literally everything.
Yeah. Don't go near them. Do not go near horses. Okay, kids can actually be surprisingly dangerous. You're a target when you put this thing on you, and they will try, hitting you or trying to get a reaction just, because it's fun or whatever. Drunks are basically the same thing, just bigger. And then even normal people who haven't been drinking can sometimes get the idea, or often get the idea, of that it's fun to pull the tail of the fursuiter. And that is, they wouldn't do that on an animal. I don't understand why they do that in fursuiters. And then there are the people, of course, who think that you're now invulnerable and they can kick your ass. Those are really dangerous. Particularly teenage years, large flocks of teenagers are some of the most destructive things you can run into when you're a person. So be very careful. Often you can diffuse the situation when you're dealing with problematic people. And you just, if there's a kid or something, the doggy has to go now. And that's a nicer way than just, pushing the kid away or something. In public, it's especially important that you keep the magic alive. And don't take off your head in public. Typically, you shouldn't talk either, because even for kids, that suddenly tells you there's a human inside. And it changes the entire interaction. Once one fursuiter has said one thing, everyone would go, talk again, talk again, talk again, talk again, and then go up to all the others. Can you talk? Can you talk? Can you talk? And so on. So that is typically standard not to talk. And then bring with you, your mental bags of tricks, the poses you can do in front of the camera, with good rehearsal, the moves that you have, and so on. And if there are certain things that you're good at, maybe you're a good dancer or something. That's the kind. Know your strengths and use them. The trick here is that you might have a limited library of things that you do, and you do the same thing all the time. But since you're meeting new people all the time, your old tricks are new to them. So you don't need to bother. You cycle through your 5 or 6 things that you do, and everybody will think that you're so awesome. And of course, even if you find this, improvisation or other things difficult, don't be scared away, because the best way to learn is to try, and you will have fun while you do it. And even such things as improvisation, thinking on the spot, is something you will get better at. Okay? Yes. Since you can't talk in person, you have to learn gestures and other things for communicating not only with your handlers, but with other people. You've already done the yes and no. I think other people can understand those. The two best ways of interacting with people are probably waving and the classic, nearly everybody knows that. Okay, give me a hug. How would you assign to somebody that they can give you a hug? Of course! Now, if you want something from somebody, how would you do that? Should I take something for you? Okay. You want that? Yeah, you want the computer. No, you don't want the computer. Then there's another way also, if you want somebody to pass you the ball, for instance, how do you do that? Yeah, exactly. People notice that. If you count, it's very easy. Okay. It's very easy for him to count. Show me your phone. How do you count to 5? That's something to think about beforehand. It's hilarious when I use my pause and everybody says, when I do 4 and everybody says 5. Because I'm showing all of my fingers. Yes. And of course you can do other things, Wikipedia has a list of gestures, extremely impressive. But things like blowing kisses, or one thing you should always do, I think, to be a nice guy, is when you've had a nice interaction with somebody, thank them with something. Don't blow a kiss or something like that, just to let them know that you enjoyed it. Okay? Kids. Kids are some of the best things about public fursuiting. And some of the most challenging. The beautiful thing is that I talked about suspension of disbelief. That you have to suspend your disbelief to believe that this is wrong. That does not apply to kids. Kids, you are that animal you actually want to be. And that's pretty beautiful. So that's Silver fursuiting as Colin the Collie, his first fursuit. And around kids, this is Silver as himself, meaning the person Silver, around, well, sort of, yes. Around some other kids, you notice how that they really like petting him. Now, how do you approach a kid? Notice he's not approaching me. So that's a trick question. You do not approach kids. You let them come to you. And of course, what else are you doing? You're getting down on their level so that you don't look as scary. You know, if the kid is shy, you can sort of, you hide and you act shy and scared as well to show that you're not the nasty party here. And then when they come close and you want to interact with you, you can stretch out your paw and maybe they'll touch you and pet you or something. Do not scare the kids, okay? Maybe you can even give them a high five once they decided to approach you. Unfortunately, parents don't know those
Make my
things.
life hard, making this nice.
So this was a very difficult situation. My handler was just standing there. I'm going to take a picture of this. I didn't really like it. And the mom, of course, no, stop crying.
Yeah, I can
Yes,
totally
and when
have
you're
that.
with kids, if the kid leads and you follow, that's how it works. Kids always win. You interact with them on their own terms. Now, you have to be extremely careful when you're moving around because kids are really small and tend to be everywhere, and you will not notice that. Careful, slow movements. There's one guy who said he had an enormous muzzle on his costume. Once, he was looking down and looked up. Turned out there was a kid right there, and then he threw the kid into a garbage can. Just by doing that. Fortunately, the kid just got up and started laughing. But he felt really bad after that. So be very, very careful. Now, when you hug kids, if you have these big paws, do not give them a big, overbearing hug. You might be touching certain areas that look really bad on the picture. And these charity groups always have, you know, the look no hands. The kid might be hugging you, but you don't. And then, since you don't have the dexterity you need with your paws, don't pick up or hold kids, babies, or puppies. That's just a recipe for disaster. Parents would want to give them to you. Don't accept them. What you can do as a trick, you know, you crouch down instead, and then the kid can stand and be taken a picture of, or becomes much easier. So then you diffuse the situation and present an opportunity where you don't have to lift the kid instead. This also works for handlers, that they can help out around kids. You know, you introduce suitors, and, you know, hey, this is Silver, he would love to play with you, and so on. Or Sergeant Growler in this case. Or maybe things like, you know, you've got a fan here, that's called for look behind you, somebody wants to hug you. Or if somebody, you know, starts pulling your tail, you can say, you know, what do you think if somebody pulled your tail? I think that would work. So, you know, sort of being a kindergarten teacher or something. And another thing you can do is if somebody tries to hand over a baby, you can stop them, you know, and say, hey, I can take the picture, you can be in the photo as well. That's another way of getting around those situations. Kids will ask you things while you're in fursuit, and you might want to try to answer them. What's your name? Yes, you can point at your badge. Some kids cannot read, then you need a handler to read or know the name. Please don't have handlers that don't know the names of the fursuits. That's really embarrassing when you don't know the names of your friends. Okay, what kind of animal are you? How would you sign that? Okay, well, that's not super easy, but something to think about. I'm a black-backed jackal. I have a certain charade I do with non-kids that sometimes works, but it's very difficult. Are you a boy or a girl? Are you a boy? Okay, how would you sign I'm a boy? Okay, like you can do stuff like that. If you ask in that way, it's easy. But there are other ways to sign that, you know, strong or you can express those things also through a person. Where do you come from? The forest, the room, him, far away, something like that. Are you real? Of course you're real. It's a real person.
Or you tell them they're high, I don't exist.
That can also sometimes work. Sometimes adults will have questions that you don't really like. A question I often get is, you must be really hot in there when they're hugging you. That's a sign that I should probably stop first at that point, because I've been sweating so much. You have sex in these costumes, don't you? If you're a handler, you can prepare answers like, would you want to do it wearing carpets and a pillow on your head? Get real, or things like that, you know. And if the kids start going, say, don't want to play along, I know you're not really, you know, start tugging you, you know, trying to figure out if there's human inside there or things like that. That's especially bad with a harsh person. And then we get into some of the more difficult situations we can end up with. There are some people out there who just don't know how to interact properly. Somebody had a person who thought it was really funny to pull somebody's tail, so she did it for 10 minutes. And he couldn't get the attention of a handler, and he couldn't move because then the tail would be really, really damaged. So, and then there are people around there who know how to interact properly and choose not to. They want attention, or for some reason they want negative attention. I mean, this is the reason we have bullies and kids and everything like that. This is the most difficult part, the people who try to ruin your game. And here, it is very difficult for me actually to tell you what to do. This is the hardest part, I think. The first part is don't give people what they want. If somebody, say, steals a badge of yours, you can probably spare that badge. Just walk away and ignore them, and then it's not a fun game anymore, and they might give up and just toss it away. That's much better than a child starting to interact with a really nasty person. Handlers are here for the reason to break these things off. That's also why you're a big mob, you know. In the worst case, you can just, you know, throw bodies at them. But the most important part is to just get away from the situation. You can do it gracefully, or you can do it non-gracefully. Both of them work. Choose either and just do it. There are certain signs you can use, like, you know, to your handler to let them know that something is really weird is going on. Yes, somebody isn't quite right in the head. And do you have any experience of how to do this? Any tips that I haven't tried? Yes.
I don't know first hand. This is not my own experience, but a friend of mine. And the worst problem we encountered, however, was a parent taking the kid's side, when the kid was about this person not being real, and then the parent coming forward and supporting the kid and trying to convince the person to take over the test.
Wow.
I mean, kids might be bad, but soccer moms is even worse.
So those are some things to at least be prepared of that you might meet out there. But most of the things you would meet are really fun.